You know those annoying pesky house tasks, or I'd rather want to call it house maintenance tasks that just for some reason stopped working, or curtain fell off, or there's a hole after drilling it that you still need to fill in, but none of them really take precedence. And you always keep thinking, I'll do it later, it's not a priority yet, it'll eventually get fixed. Well, I have a couple of those examples in our apartment as well. And I finally want to try to get through as many of them, either this week or this month, just really try to push myself to get them done, because it's so easy to kind of just live with it and forget about it. But for example, here in our bedroom, there's a problem with the light switch that I'll try to fix as a first task. And this light switch is supposed to turn both of them on. But now, strangely something has happened where if you turn on this light switch, then one of them will turn off and the other one will turn on. And then with this light switch, where it should be able to do the same thing, turning on both lights, but again, if you turn this one on, then one will turn on and the other one will turn off. And it's impossible to get both of them on or off at the same time. So the only thing that we could do is take one of these out and then ask our landlord if he had the same issue. And so a couple weeks back, we did actually ask, and he sent us back a message with some tips that we could try doing. So now I'm gonna look at what he said and finally try to fix this. So one thing it said on there is to make sure that both light switches are turned on. Okay, I'm back with my tools and I just turned off the switch from the breaker. So let's see what it says again. First thing is to open the cover on the right side. So I'm gonna unplug this thing. And now I'm going to turn on the breaker switch and hope that this finally worked. Okay, the breaker switch is back on. Now, fingers crossed it works again. And then just the other one. Awesome. Okay, now they both go on and off at the same time. Feels very satisfying when you're able to accomplish things that you really think you couldn't do. First annoying house task, finally done. This will be so much better for tonight as well. Alright, moving on to task numero dos, the curtain rail. So this just suddenly fell off from the ceiling a few nights ago. So I want to give it a go, trying to hang it up again. But first just going to start by removing the curtain, because then that will get rid of that weight problem. Brand name, it's just an IKEA Bioga curtain rail, so I'm going to look up the manual quickly now and see if I can find back how they did it. And as you can probably tell, the curtain rail has finally been hung up. Now, thankfully I had my brother help out with a lot of these different tasks around the house that I've either tried fixing, such as this one, but didn't work so well, or things that I've been meaning to fix, but perhaps I didn't know how to go around it. So over the past couple of months, I just kept an eye out for different house fix-ups that we had to get around to. And these have been problems that either I tried fixing, such as the curtain rail, or things that I've been meaning to get to, but I just haven't because of a lack of time, or because I didn't know how to fix that problem. So by having all those questions or examples of things that need to be fixed on one list, it was much easier just to quickly whiz around the apartment and ask my brother to help out with those things. So now that the curtain rail is finally back up, I can finally hang this back on there. And so the issue with this area is that, well, first of all, it was a bit hard for me to reach all the way up there, even with this tall ladder. And I wasn't sure about which plug to use because it's hanging upside down, so you need quite a strong plug, and it's also a piece of wood. But what I learned from him, and something that he just ended up doing, is just screwing a screw directly into the piece of wood. Another quick FYI, in case someone's looking for this tip, even though it probably sounds very obvious, is that if you ever need to hang back up one of those rail sliders, then I was under the impression that you had to disconnect it from the middle area over there, but my brother showed me that there's a little slot on the right side that you can open, and then you can just slide those things back in from there onto the rail. But now I can finally hang this curtain back up, and I'm hoping that it won't fall down again. Okay, voila, that's finally back up. Able to open and close it smoothly. It's so great when these things that I've been sitting around for months and months are finally just done and out of the way. So the next quick thing is to clean everything up. And something that my uncle always instilled in us is to put everything back into its right spot right away. Don't just put it into the garage and say that you're gonna clean it up later on. So things like the screws or nails that you use, put them into the right compartment from the screw box, if you grab one of those. Example of something that's very easy to be a bit lazy about when you're cleaning it up, but just if you have one of these screwdrivers with different head attachments that you can choose from, just make sure that you take it off, put the one back from where it came from, and then put everything back into the right spot. Put away that ladder as well. Alright, so the next task on my list that I needed some help with was this curtain rod. Now the simple issue was that this thing that holds this mechanism in place had broken, and so because of that, sometimes you have to see something like this would happen. But my brother taught me a technique that you don't necessarily need this thing. You can also just, if you're trying to pull it up, then you hold one end and then you just carefully pull. And then the other way around, if you want to bring it down, you hold the other end, you hold the back end, and you just carefully pull it down. So you don't necessarily need this thing. So sometimes it is easier and faster to find a simple solution like that than to try to buy a whole new rolling blind and hang it back up, etc. So this was just an easy temporary solution, but still good enough to use for next coming months. But as an extra step, I did just measure the diameter of that piece that we just cut off, and then I'm going to add that to the notes of the house fix-ups. And so I can always just go to a hardware store and double check if they sell something like this, but if not, then it's okay just to continue on using it like so. And then as for the last step related to this whole thing is, well, it's not our rolling blind since it came with the apartment that we're renting out. So I don't want to be the one to throw it away in case they do know a way of fixing it, or maybe they want it back. So with things like this, I'll make a note of where it came from. I'll keep that little thing that we cut off, keep it in some kind of plastic bag, a little Ziploc bag, little plastic bag like so. And then I'll place this in an area where you keep all things found from this apartment, so that at the end the landlords can decide what to do with their own stuff. And it's also better to keep this separated so that we don't confuse our stuff with their stuff. Alright, so the next area that we were finally able to fix, thanks to his help, was this wooden piece here. Now these two pieces were actually attached to each other with some screws, and so it was a very long piece and it couldn't fit at the front door for us to put into the basement, which is why it was here for so long. And the problem was that these things were screwed together, but the screws were broken, so it was almost impossible to get the two out. So basically what he ended up doing was just drilling a hole around the screw area until there was nothing that the screw could hold onto anymore, so it just came loose. And if we ever need to fix this, then I think we just have to put some wood filler into it or another piece of wood and just try using it like that again. But I think that was really our only and most simplest option to take these two pieces apart without having to cut it at a certain point. And I wanted to keep these two pieces intact as much as possible. But now it feels good that these two things can finally be placed into the basement. And again, just like with the curtain, it's always a good idea to try to clean up everything right as you're cleaning it up, rather than thinking that you're going to do it later.